Happy Melly Monday! With Easter around the corner, I am crocheting some Easter eggs, and there are about 7 levels of difficulty. Starting at level 1 with a plain egg. I've put the pattern on screen, so if you want to follow along, you'll just need some yarn, a matching crochet hook, and the ability to make single crochets. The first round starts with a magic ring. For that, I am wrapping the yarn twice around my thumb, pushing the hook under and yarning through twice. Now I can carefully take it off and make 4 single crochets into the ring before pulling the end and closing it. Because the egg will be worked in a spiral, I place a temporary thread at the start of each round to mark the place. Now I can work the 4 increases of round 2. To do an increase, I'm simply making 2 single crochets into the same stitch, repeating that 4 times before placing the marker thread again. For round 3, there is a repeat of 1 single crochet and 1 increase, so I am working that pattern all the way around, as well as the next 6 rounds. Next up is the straight bit with 6 rounds of single crochets, so I am pulling and reinserting the marker thread in order to keep count easier. Round 16 has a repeat of 4 single crochets and a decrease. There are many ways to do a decrease, but I like to pick up the front loops of the next 2 stitches, then yarn through twice like a single crochet, repeating that 4 single crochet and 1 decrease pattern all the way around, as well as the next few rounds. Now, with 12 stitches left after round 19, it is time to stuff the egg. I am first pulling the loop out to remove the hook as well as the marker thread. Then, making sure the yarn is out of the way, I stuff the egg. Firm enough so it doesn't have big dents, but not too tight. It should end up nice and squishy. To continue crocheting, I reinsert the hook and close the loop. Because it is just 6 decreases, I don't bother with the marker thread and simply count them out before cutting the yarn and pulling it through. Now, using a darning needle, I pick up the last 6 stitches, pull tight, and let the tail disappear inside the egg. That was the first level of difficulty, and in a group it does look quite decent. Of course, you can raise the difficulty by using textured yarn. It will give fluffy eggs, but is a pain to work with because you can't see your stitches. So for this video, I'm sticking with these colorful yarns. Which brings me to level 2, adding color. I'm just putting you on a time lapse for this one, because it is the same pattern as before. Now after a few rounds, I want to switch to a different purple. To do that, I am holding the end tightly to the back side of my workpiece and crocheting with a new color. Then after a few single crochet, I'm going back, cutting off the old yarn and tying them off. Now I just continue following the pattern with the new yarn. A few rounds later, I'm switching colors again by cutting the old yarn, holding the new end to the back side and doing a few single crochets before coming back and tying the ends. Then it is just a case of following the pattern, switching colors, following the pattern, switching colors, and stuffing the egg and finishing it off. This leaves me with a nice colorful egg, though there are these jumps at the color changes, which leads me to level 3, closing the rounds. The start is the same. Make a magic ring, put 4 single crochet in it and close it up. But this time the egg isn't worked in a spiral, but in concentric rings. So to close this round, I make a slip stitch into the first single crochet. Then to start the next round, I chain 1 and start on the same stitch with, in this case, 4 increases. At the end of the round, I ignore the slip stitch from the previous round, as well as the chain 1. I find the first single crochet of this round and slip stitch into it. Then a chain 1 to begin the next round, and I start the pattern in the same stitch I just slip stitched into. At the end of the round, I once again ignore the slip stitch and chain, I find the first single crochet, but before I slip stitch, I want to change the color for the next round. So I hold the end tight in the back and use the new yarn to slip stitch, chain 1 and start the next round. Then I'm coming back to cut the yarn and tie the ends. The same thing happens at the end of this round. Ignore the slip stitch and chain, hook the first single crochet, hold the pink yarn end and use that to crochet, then come back and tie the ends. Now a few rounds later, I'm once again changing to purple, but because I know I want to change back after one round, I'm not cutting the pink yarn. I just hold the purple end until I've changed back and can tie the purple ends together. The same technique is used for the rest of the egg. If you follow along, you can of course choose your own colors and stripe patterns. Now the stripes line up much better, but the transitions are quite zigzaggy, which can be pretty, but it can also be quite busy. Which brings me to level 4, straight lines. It uses the same technique as level 3, so closing every round with a slip stitch and starting the next one with a chain 1. But color transitions need more planning. I want this upcoming round 3 to still be pink, but round 4 afterwards shall be light purple. So I am working the chain 1 in purple, and whilst keeping both threads under tension, I work the first half of the single crochet in pink and the second half in purple. Again, the first half pink and the second half purple. Now I need to make a second single crochet for the increase, but I can't pull the pink yarn through the stitch because I'd end up in the previous loop. So the second single crochet of the increase is worked in the front loop only, again half in pink and half in purple. This two-toned round is closed by a slip stitch into the first single crochet with the purple yarn, and I can cut the pink one. The next round is worked normally, but round 5 has to be two-toned again, since round 6 shall be magenta. So chain 1 with the new yarn, keep both in tension and do each stitch half in purple and half in magenta, closing the round with a magenta slip stitch. For round 6, I'm simply switching the yarns, since round 7 shall be purple again. And following these techniques, I finish the egg. This results in clean horizontal lines, no matter what colors or pattern you choose. So now it's time for level 5, vertical patterns. I already made the first 9 rounds with a mix of stripes, and in the straight rounds 10 to 15, I'll make this mosaic pattern. For simplicity's sake, I'll keep the background and accent colors the same, and in round 9 I've already prepped the color change to the background color. The first round is easy, just single crochet in pink. It ends with a color change to magenta, and the second round is also just single crochet, but this time only in the back loops, and change it back to pink. Now here is where it gets interesting. In the pattern I want to make, the magenta line does not go through, but in my workpiece it does, so I'll work a repeat of 3 single crochets in the back loop only and 1 double down. So a double crochet not in the next stitch, but into the free front loop directly below it. The stitch hidden by the double down is left empty, and the repeat continues with 3 single crochets in the back loop and 1 double down all the way along, and change it back to magenta. This fourth round takes care of the vertical lines, so I'm making a repeat of 1 double down and 1 single crochet in the back loops all the way around, then changing back to pink. This last round starts with 1 single crochet in the back loop and then has a repeat of 1 double down and 3 single crochets in the back loops only. The double down should always go into these squares. The following round, in my case a two-toned one, should also be worked in the back loops only, just for symmetry's sake, and I finish off the egg as usual. This results in this mosaic pattern. The next step is to move it up for level 6, the pattern on the increase. I start by crocheting the first 3 rounds normally in my background color, then switching over to my accent color purple and crochet the 4th round in the back loops only. Then for the 5th round, again in pink, there is a repeat of 4 single crochets in the back loops, but the increase falls on the double down, so I make a double down increase by working 2 double downs into the same stitch, then repeating the pattern 4 times in total and switching back to purple. The next 2 rounds are just following the pattern using the same techniques as before and afterwards finishing the egg off. With horizontal and vertical lines done, the next step is to put them together for level 7 lettering. I've done the first 8 rounds like in level 6, and in the next 7 rounds I want to write Easter, so I made a rectangle 7 rows tall and 36 stitches wide, and my accent color will be magenta. Because I crochet from the top of the egg and from right to left, I turn the pattern around. The first 2 rounds are like before, so 1 round single crochet in pink and 1 round back loops only in magenta. Now I look at my pattern and the first 3 stitches shall be pink, but they are magenta, so I make 3 double downs to cover them. The next 3 stitches are supposed to be magenta and they are magenta, so I'll make 3 single crochets into the back loops only. The next 2 stitches need a pink covering, so 2 double downs, then 1 single crochet in the back loop, 2 double downs, 3 single crochets in the back loop, and so forth. Now the next round in magenta uses the same principle. I look at the round below and the first 3 stitches are the color they are supposed to be, so I make 3 single crochets in the back loop only. The next stitch isn't the right color, so I make 1 double down, followed by 3 single crochets in the back loops. This next marking looks a bit off because I want to make a diagonal double down, so I don't make a double crochet in the stitch directly below, but in the one next to it, followed by a single crochet in the back loop only, and another diagonal double down into the same stitch. I continue to follow the pattern until I arrive at the diamond shape. I want to make diagonals, but it is too far for a double crochet, so I make a triple crochet into that free loop and treat it like a double down, followed by 3 single crochets in the back loop only and another triple down, then a single crochet in the back loop only to end the round. The next round in pink follows the same rules as before, and at the diamond shape I have to dig a bit for the right stitches to put the double downs into, but they are there. The next round in magenta is more of the same, with a diagonal double down in the R, until I reach the diamond. Here I need to make 2 diagonals and 1 stitch, so I pick up for my first triple down, but I don't finish it. Then I do my other triple down and pull through 3 at the end. So I have 2 diagonals, but it counts as 1 stitch. After working the last round of the pattern, I can turn it around and check if I spelled everything correctly before finishing it off in the usual way. And that were 7 difficulty levels of crocheting Easter eggs. Leave a like if you enjoyed it and let me know to which level you got. Also tune in next Mini Monday to see what I'll do with all of these. I'll see you then.